Hare Krishna. Chaitanya-manobhishtam Savitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Vibhagatam Dadati Swapadatitam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutam Shri Guru Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahakanavarinam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Varinasamitam Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahakanavita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabhakyo Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Mostute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Hare Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusuti Bhavami Hriye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Dvipasindhubhyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurabhaktanvrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading the Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. We'll start today from chapter 2, text 56, 46. That's okay with you guys. I know you read that yesterday, but I'd like to cover that tonight. Text 46, chapter 2. Yavanartha udapane sarita samplutodake tamam sarveshu vedeshu brahmasya vijanataha. Translation. All purposes that are served by the small pond can at once be served by the great reservoirs of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. Text 47. Karma devadikaraste malhaleshu pradachana ma karma palahetubhyur malte samgosa karmani. Translation. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. Text 48. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjanaya siddhyasya yogi samabhutva samatvam yoga uchate. Translation. Be steadfast in yoga, O Arjuna. Perform your duty in abandon attachment to success or failure. Such evenness of mind is called yoga. Text 49. Durayana yavaram karma yogatananjaya buddhau sharanam manischa kripana palahetavaha. Translation. O Dhananjaya, rid yourself of all your activities by devotional service and surrender fully to that consciousness. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. Text 15. Buddhi yukto jagatita ubhe sukrita duskrite tasma yogaya yujyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. Translation. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions even in this life. Therefore strive for yoga, O Arjuna, which is the art of all work. Text 51. Karma jamburi yuktahi palam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandhavanir mukta param gacchantyanāmayam. Translation. The wise, engaged in devotional service, take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they can attain that state beyond all miseries. Text 52. Yadāte mohakalidam purir vyatitarishishi tadāgantasi nirvainam shrutavyasya shrutasya. Translation. When your intelligence is passed out of that dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Text 53. Shruti viprati bhavanate yadastasyati nishchala samadhavachala buddhis sada yoga mavapsyasi. Translation. When your mind is no longer distributed, disturbed by the fire language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Arjuna Vacha Stita Pragyastika Vasha Samadhi Sasya Sita Di Kim Prabhaseta Kim Masita Vrajeta Kim. Translation. Arjuna said, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? How does he walk? Text 55. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Vajahati Yadakamam Savan Varta Marogatan Amanyeva Manatushta Stita Pragyastadojate. Translation. The Blessed Lord said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of sense desire which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind finds satisfaction in himself alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Text 56. Dukeshvayu Vigna Mana Sukeshu Vigatashpraha Vitaraga Vayokroda Sitadir Munya Uchate. Translation. One who is not disturbed in spite of the threefold miseries, who is not elated in their happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Shall we move to study 2? I know I asked last time, is it to do with 10 or 11 verses? Is it to do with 10 or 11 verses that we got? 10, okay. And then we can go back to 46. Text 46, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai. Translation. All purposes that are served by the small pond can at once be served by the great reservoirs of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. Purport. The rituals and sacrifices mentioned in the Karmakanda division of the Vedic literature are to encourage gradual development of self-realization. And the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 15:15. The purpose of studying the Vedas is to know Lord Krishna, the primeval cause of everything. So, self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with him. The relationship of the living entities with Krishna is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The living entities are parts and parcels of Krishna. Therefore, revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest perfectional stage of Vedic knowledge. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7 as follows. Ahobhata subhakot kariyam yachchi vakre kapate nam dubyam devastabaste jakuhu shasnur aryam ramanuchur nam pranadiyate. O my Lord, a person who is chanting your holy name, although born of a low family like that of a Chandana, dog-eater, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to the Vedic rituals and studied the Vedic literatures many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family. So one must be intelligent enough to understand the purpose of the Vedas without being attached to the rituals only, and must not desire to be elevated to the heavenly kingdoms for a better quality of sense gratification. It is not possible for the common man in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals and injunctions of the Vedantas and Upanishads. It requires much time, energy, knowledge, and resources hardly possible in this age. The best purpose of Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, the deliverer of all fallen souls. When Lord Chaitanya was asked by a great Vedic scholar, Prakashamanda Saraswati, why he, the Lord, was chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist instead of studying the Vedanta philosophy, the Lord replied that his spiritual master found him to be a great fool, and thus he asked him to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. He did so and became ecstatic like a madman. In this age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand Vedanta philosophy. The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting the holy name of the Lord. Vedanta is the last word in Vedic wisdom, and the author and the knower of Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krishna. And the highest Vedantist is the great soul who takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism. Maharaj, I'm here to speak.
All the yoga perfections to the devotee, like Narayana, has ability to go anywhere. And we have to also have these mystic powers. So you can get those mystic powers, first you can get them by performing Ashtanga process, meditation, pranayama, or by bhakti yoga, one can also acquire those. The example is Ambrish Maharaj was a worldly man, he was a king, but his power was greater than that of the yogi Durvasa, because he was a pure devotee. That's the highest touch from yoga. Yoginam Sarvesham Ankatena Dharma Pranam Mukti Snake. One is engaged in loving service as the highest should. He's the greatest of all yogis, because yoga is something with being spontaneous to think and trying to mechanical way. It's nothing to link with a person. So this bhakti yoga is a better link. And in the personification of all those mystic powers, where those powers come, to become smaller, to become so smooth, the bars of your jail cell. And you can walk along a weightless, become invisible. He can get anything he wants. He can take property, he can acquire something. And these are how these powers come about. Krishna's Yogeshwara, he's the source of all material and spiritual worlds, everything, so they come from Krishna. And naturally, who is pleasing to Krishna will have everything he needs to perform his devotional service. Krishna supplies what he needs. We're hearing about some devotees and they were with Prabhupada in Mumbai. And they were having a big festival, 10-day festival, Dharma. he got up to 60 and went after the festival, or during the festival. But they were working really hard, they were trying so hard. And it's pretty amazing thing that a huge balloon that hovered 200 feet over the festival site. Buses I was bigger, 50,000 people. Huge number of people. And they wanted to put up a lot of publicity. So they got people, they didn't have big printing presses to print those large things. So they got the painters, artists, spent with a can of paint. They paint on wood or cloth, these huge banners. And then one man, he said, he joined the movement. He said his uncle owned, he owned billboards, 60 or 80 billboards, big ones. So they put advertising. It's an unbelievable thing happening. People were coming in just the right time. Money was coming in. And it turned out to be a huge success. But the thing is, if one works like that, without desiring the fruits for himself, not trying to get anything, he's always just wants to please their spiritual master and please Krishna and do the right thing. So, if we engage in devotional service to Krishna, that's the topmost yoga, and includes the benefits of all the other things, all the other aspects of yoga. So it doesn't need to try to get mystic powers or become very, rule over others, people with their minds. Like this thing. But devotees are not interested in using their, if they have some power, they want to use it for bringing people to Krishna consciousness. They have more power, not much power. And so whatever power they have, they want to use it for Krishna. And then Krishna will use it.
The most beautiful thing about devotional service, I think, what I've heard, which is that for one who undertakes this transcendental treasure, bhakti yoga, it can easily go to Krishna. This ocean of material faults becomes no bigger than a hoof print of a cow, which can just easily step over. So this verse in the Gita, Daiviyesha Duramayi. Maya Parataya Mahayate Ye Pramadante Mayam Etam Paradite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the material modes of nature, is difficult to overcome, but the one who surrenders to me, it can easily cross over. So this is the reality of the pure devotee. He is lifted out of this ocean of nations into safety. And someone at some point told me that all it takes to be rescued from an ocean when you're drowning is just to be picked up a little bit. Helicopter comes, drops down the lifeline. You don't need to be all the way in the helicopter to find safety. You just need to be a foot above that water. You just need to be able to catch some air, some breath, So it's Krishna. He does that, and then some. He picks us up and brings us all the way back to shore, delivers us to the other side, which through our own volition would be absolutely impossible to come to. So, this This is after just about eternity, turning our back on Him. And so this is an open invitation that He gives us that's always standing for us to receive His help, His guidance. He wants so badly to bring us back home more than we can even understand. More than we want to go back to Him, He wants us to come back to Him. So, I'm just reminded of that. Traditionally in India, there are very few big cities. There's lots of village life. This was very prevalent. Up until, I think, 1965, 90% of India lived in small villages. So they didn't really have access to the same technology that we're so fortunate to have now. For instance, running water. So something that they would do, finding out, is from village to village, they would have this system in which they would have wells. These wells. There would be a dozen or so of these wells for each individual purpose of, like, maybe cleaning dishes, bathing, getting drinking water, etc. And they would have, to not contaminate them, they would do one specific activity in each well. Whereas those villages who lived next to the river, they do all of the above in that same river, because that water is always flowing. No contamination could build within that water, so therefore they could bathe, they could drink, they could wash dishes, wash their clothes, do whatever they needed to do there. So very similarly, this is like Krishna consciousness. The river of Krishna consciousness overflows that of all these individual wells that we see in these different sectarian aspects of life, whether it's religion. Within the highest conclusion of each religion, Krishna consciousness has seen that and raised it. So, like Buddhism, for example, they say, okay, we're non-violent. Krishna consciousness, we are of the same belief to understand that in each body is a soul that's qualitatively one with us. It's individual, but it's no greater, it's no less than the soul that we occupy. So the self-realized soul can see no difference between a Brahmin, a dog eater, etc. It's completely realized to the soul's position within his most material nature. It's not shaken by the illusion of the external. Christianity, they say, to love God. Similarly, we say this is the simple point of life, is to love God, is to go back to God, being conscious of Him at the very last moment of our life. Taking prema, this is the point of what we do here, within these regulated principles and these facets of devotional service, all is building upon this supreme goal of rendering loving service to God, loving Him, truly, fully. And then, someone of Mohammedan belief who thinks to serve God, this is the point, just to be a servant, a slave. This is also there within our philosophy. 24 hours a day, Prabhupada has given us this program to try to best engage us. So we ourselves can be like a river that always flows and never reaches contamination. So Krishna consciousness, it has all of these most high conclusions that one can find in the mundane sphere, but it links everything together. It's the only thing I found throughout my searching that can effectively bring people together. So it's very nice in this way. It's very rare, and there's nothing else like it. Similarly, all types of occupation are found within Krishna consciousness. We have mathematicians, scientists, philosophers, businessmen. There's no shortage of work that can be done in the name of Krishna and bringing people to be engaged in service to Krishna. Yeah, so those are just some thoughts about what Krishna consciousness is all encompassing. Prabhupada quotes 15:15, the purpose of studying the Vedas is to know Lord Krishna. To know Lord Krishna. To know Lord Krishna, one must fix their consciousness upon Him. And Krishna says in 261, or getting to this point, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Tani sarvani samyamya, yukdana sita maparaha, vishenya sindhirani, tasya prajna pratishtata. Yeah, one who can fix their consciousness upon me is known as a man of steady intelligence. And by doing this, one attains the supreme goal of their life, is to always remember Krishna and never forget, to see Him in each and every person, in each and every, to understand that His energies are all around us. This is what we're working to. So some people present the question, is bhakti a matter of something we do or a matter of something we feel? And if it's just a matter of something we do, then does it become just some like mechanic ritual? Is it just, we just go through the motions and delude ourselves into thinking, no, we know this isn't the case. But if it's only something we feel, then why do anything at all? Why not just think about all these emotions that I feel for God and how I don't go back to Him and this and that? We can understand that Krishna consciousness is a practice. Within the word practice is the word act. Therefore, we need to act. The soul's position is one of action, service. Prabhupada so many times equates devotional service to transcendental loving service. Transcendental loving service, what's that mean? It's beyond matter. It's dynamic. It's ever increasing in its sweetness. This is a characteristic of transcendental nature. Whereas here in the material world, everything just slowly diminishes over time. Everything is transient here, so we can't hold on to it long enough to actually enjoy it. But we have a true position, and this is of eternity, the knowledge of bliss. And this is part of devotional service, this transcendental aspect. It's completely above good and bad, the duality of good and bad. It remains pure and unadulterated. And for this reason, it goes completely unchecked. Nothing unchecked. So I need to love. There is emotion in this practice that we're doing our best to develop through these regulations. And to love means to serve. You can't love without service. So this emotion and this action actually go hand in hand, and they facilitate. They're inextricably tied together. You can't have one without the other. Not in the realm of devotional service, at least. So I'm sure there's a lot more to say about that. Those are some thoughts about that. Now, there's no love where there's no service. There's no love in the material world. Because everything here in the material world is tinged with hatred, with motive, expectation of how we think that person should show up for us. It's not love by nature has to be pure and unconditional. So nothing outside of the service itself for Krishna is a sufficient enough reason to serve Krishna. Does that make sense? I probably say that simpler. Yeah, like these fruitive activities, that this mindset, fruitive gain that we so anticipate on the day-to-day life is actually hindering us. And there's a point that Prabhupada makes in this next purport where he says, one who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. Thus he's the enjoyer or sufferer of the result of such actions. He becomes bound to his work at that very moment that he decides to take it for himself. And as so many brothers have said up here before me, it's a really nice point though, is when we act in such a way, this is actually a form of theft. It's serious. It's a really big hindrance on our way to understanding this transcendental knowledge. Because we're taking this and claiming that it's because of me, when really everything that we have comes from Krishna. And it's coming down the line from this most glorious disciplic succession. So to not give the acharyas their dues, the spiritual master his dues, the devotees their dues, it's like what have I really done? In fact, I don't even be here. There's no way, there's no scope for me to enter the realm of devotional service through anything that I could have done myself. It's an example of just how helpless I really am at the end of the day. This is a desirable thing to realize, how helpless we are, because then you can actually take shelter in self-realized persons. We're lucky, I'm not sure if it's luck or karma or previous devotional service or what, but somehow or other we have the good fortune to come into contact with these Mahatmas, these great souls who bestow so much mercy onto us. And this is the lifeline out of that ocean. But to think that it's anything that I've done to put myself in this position for liberation, for prema, for attaining transcendental knowledge, and fixed in my gosh, no, none of that is as a result of my action. Any questions we need to
Right. I want to understand one who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. He's the enjoyer or sufferer of the result. And so is this like to just kind of like think of like a practical example? Maybe like we have a particular service and we want to do it to the best of our ability, but by trying to, it's like kind of like being over ambitious and kind of like, just so to speak, like getting ahead of ourselves kind of thing, where like we kind of lose sight of the goal in trying to do that particular thing, where we, like if, like let's say it's dishes or something, I'm just thinking about doing the dishes, but I'm not, but because I'm thinking about how well I want to do the dishes, I'm not actually thinking that, okay, I'm doing these dishes, for the devotees, for Krishna. And so I kind of like lose sight of like the intention by like having over ambition. Is that?
Well, we have so many impressions upon our consciousness that lead us to enjoy for our pleasure. You know, so when we take the devotional service right away, we can't expect to just like totally, like just click all of a sudden and do everything unmotivated, just for the sake of doing it for Krishna, just because it's negative, just because maybe someone else is there. I'm not there yet. There's still a lot of my past that I can remember that I'm battling, and there's since time immemorial that I'm so much covered within my heart. So there's this mirror in the heart that's been covered. So generally, we try to exploit the energy of God or God Himself, and then when we find out that we can't, we try to run from those reactions, or karma ensuing upon us. But we're doing a very incredible thing by coming to live here at the temple, and coming to study Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and take shelter as devotees. Because we're facing head-on this train wreck that we've gotten ourselves into. It's a very frightful situation, and there's no remedial measure for it outside of devotional service. So we can delude ourselves into thinking that, I go back home and I'll be okay. I'll be okay. So I can read Gita every once in a while, and I'll honor my prasadam, and maybe I'll pray to Krishna every day. Promise. I'll be okay. But we have so much pulling at us in the opposite direction, truly being okay, which is becoming a pure devotee. That's what it means to be okay, to be properly situated. We have so much, the odds are against us if we go that way. But by rendering emotional service to Krishna, and immediately what requires causes knowledge, if they can remain in it, and fully surrender themselves to the process, then they can obtain all detachment from these worldly matters of birth and death and disease and old age. They rise above it. So essentially, I'm not exactly sure how to answer your question. Anyone else wants to get please.
So I can see how outside of the temple environment where we're doing things and they're not directly connected to devotees, and then it's a little bit easier to say that we do something and it our intention is most likely skewed. But how about when we're doing things in the temple and we're doing something and we know there's no chance for me to be, I keep using this example of washing dishes, but there's no chance for me to be saying I'm washing dishes and I have any other intention but for it to be for the devotees, because who else am I washing dishes for? I don't know, is it still possible for it to be for me to suffer, the result of my actions, even when we have this really intimate service that is very straightforward and is clear that it's a service for devotees, or Krishna and devotees.
The fact that we're suffering probably speaks maybe a little bit of where we're at in our lack of linking with Krishna. So to answer your question, if one's fully absorbed and engaged in service to Krishna, then know there is no suffering, they're above suffering, they're above the good or the bad, and they're situated in pure good. Negation of the negative, a lot of people think means negation of the positive. But really, when we negate the non-essential, all that's left is the essential. And this is something we can truly relish, something we can really, this is our true enjoyment. There is sense gratification here, Krishna consciousness, like Radha was saying, but it doesn't come in the form of what we've understood sense gratification to be. It's far superior, it's transcendental to the pangs of material life, the ups and the downs. So we're getting to this part of the Bhagavad Gita. I think I read a verse. Arjuna, it's 54. Arjuna, he asks, what is it like? What are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus immersed in transcendence? In text 54. How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? This sthita pragya. Yeah, one fixed in Krishna consciousness. How to become fixed in Krishna consciousness? This is very important. I'll earmark this section of the Bhagavad Gita. It's very, very important to learn these verses. I'm really trying to spend a lot of time in these next 10, 15 verses or so. It's Krishna, he says, and I quoted this, one who fixes his consciousness upon me is a man of stone intelligence. So how do you fix consciousness upon him? Jump a little bit further to 68, I think it is. This is like goal. Therefore, O mighty arm, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. One whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. So to have sense control is absolutely imperative to actually becoming realized and liberated. Sadhaka follows his practice all the way to its fruition. Siddha follows his sadhana, all the way to his fruition. Siddha is like a liberated soul. He controls his senses as a means to get to the end. This is very similar to what we spoke about yesterday. This is like, to control our senses is both necessary and symptomatic of becoming fixed in our consciousness. That makes sense? So the only way to actually get to that desired point is to control our senses. And how do we control our senses? Krishna says, Raga, Vesha, Mokastu. 64. Raga, Vesha, Mokastu. Vishayan, Drayas, Janam. Atma, Vaishya, Vidya, Prasad, Gashati. He says, one who can control his senses by practicing the regulated principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord and thus become free from all attachment and aversion. So this is like why we're here, is to practice these regulated principles of freedom. This is the only way for such a fallen soul to actually become sinless, to actually link back with his purpose of serving the Supreme. And this is a process, this is a practice. It just takes a little bit of time. So that's important to remember. Is there anything else? We're getting close to the end. You guys are listening. Okay, back to Caleb.
I think we're all familiar with this pastime, the story of Dhruva, where he wants a kingdom, very material desire, but he, was chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And so when Krishna shows up and he's like, okay, what do you want? He's like, oh, never mind, I don't need anything. He's like, no, ask for a boon. And forgetting what he, I'm forgetting the entire story, but the gist of what I'm getting at is that he, with that first verse that we were reading, 46, all the purposes that are served by the small ponds are served by the reservoir. So he starts out with this material desire, and he ends up getting a kingdom, and he says at the end, you know, I was looking after broken glass, and here I found a diamond. So I think it's interesting because I can really relate to that the Gita says there are 4 types of men, and one of them, which I identify with, is the person who's in fear. So I'm afraid of so many things just in the material world, but foremost that I'm going to be a bad person, I'm going to die and not attain the goal, I'm going to go to hell or whatever. And so that's one reason to be here, but in doing that, you know, we get bliss, we get prema if we stick with this process. So like, there was something Maharaj was talking about within the last week or so, where a disciple had passed away, and he had gotten initiated right before he passed away. So he passed away, and people were asking Prabhupada what happened to him. And Prabhupada was like, well, he's going to be born in a Brahmana family next time. So it's so interesting to think about how like limited our time is, and how we have this brief opportunity to keep our consciousness in the right place. So that we're not gambling, you know. We're like, whatever happens, I know Krishna's going to take care of me. He says that, you know, whatever you do, your progress is permanent. So wherever you know, get with this Krishna consciousness next time around, you're there.
There's a lot of Andrew pastime that I really haven't fully absorbed yet. It's a question that I have with devotees of that pastime, but it is pretty special. I love that point. I was looking for a last night and time. It's kind of poetic. Very poetic. Yeah, I mean, how could we have any idea of the treasure that we've stumbled upon to even now after being here for some time? It's like, because the nature of it all is, like I said, it's dynamic. It grows and grows and grows. Krishna is ever expanding reservoir of bliss, and we get to revive this eternal relationship that we have to Him. And as we do so, the waves of His mercy just overcome us and lift us up to heights that we can't even dream of, surely. So, it's, yeah, we're very lucky. We're like, very lucky. Well, I think that's time. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.